Hello YouTube, I'm here in Newport News, Virginia. I'm about to go on a 350-mile road trip to the other part of the state or Commonwealth in Southwest Virginia over the next few hours, and I'm going to try to hypermile my WRX STI. So how's that going to work? You're going to have to use some really creative strategies. I'm going to watch my gearing, my speed, if possible, maybe work with some momentum when I'm in the mountains. So we'll see what's going on. So I'm about to head off, and I am going to give you updates at each of my stops and see how things work out. So right now, I just fueled up. I have like 2.5 miles on the tank. It says I have 250 miles to go on the tank. So we'll see what happens. All right, welcome back. I am at the first rest area on my trip to home on Interstate 64. We're about 25 or 20 miles out away from Richmond, 44.9 miles into my trip. And right now I am averaging on the trip meter 28.7 miles to the gallon. And if I go up to the meter for the tank, I'm averaging 26.7 miles to the gallon, and my range has increased to 320 miles. So my original goal was probably to achieve about 30 miles to the gallon. So between Newport News and the rest area, it's been a lot of inclines and then straight stretches, like level straight stretches, and then incline, and then with very little downhill. So I feel like I'm going to see some improvements when I get to Richmond. Between Richmond and Charlottesville, I would actually see an actual register of at least 30 miles to the gallon. So that's all I have so far for this update. We're leaving the rest area now. It's 12 o'clock. I want to give some updates along the way on how things are looking between here and a little bit flat past Richmond. I do have to punch a little bit because acceleration lane. That's the whole idea of the acceleration lane, to punch it. So yes, that could hurt me a little bit, but not much. But it's what I'm required to do, is to punch it during the acceleration lane and get up to speed. So it's starting to go up. It's like 13, 12.9, 14, so it's going up. Still same deal, a lot of incline. That's inedible. I have my cruise control set up at 60. It is a 70-mile-per-hour zone. camera semi-focused on this area tell what's going on through my phone app. On a 4K monitor, might be different. So let's see how this works. Miles to the gallon for this particular trip. Hopefully I'm not annoying too many people. On the first leg of this trip there was a truck towing a trailer, so he was behind me the whole time, so if anyone was angry, they were angry at him and not me, until they realized that he was following me. It is 12:20. We are in the Richmond metropolitan area. We're passing the Mechanicsville exit, or Mechanicsville Turnpike exit 192. We are now at 27.5 miles to the gallon. I haven't caught up to my value of 28 something as before, but we have some good news. Right now we're about an estimated 340 miles to this tank. So put that into perspective, we've driven 65 miles. The trip is 350 miles. So I'm kind of curious on how things are going to look. Right now the terrain is relatively flat, and it's going to be like this until we reach right after Charlottesville. And once we reach after Charlottesville, it gets very hilly, and then we're going to approach Afton Mountain. And Afton Mountain is a very big incline and then a big descent, so I expect a net zero or close to net zero impact from going over this mountain, but that's about 2 hours away. So we made it to the other side of Richmond. This is the 295 interchange, kind of weird partial beltway around the Richmond area. So far I've probably passed 4 or 5 cars, only because those cars were behind a dump truck back in downtown. We've did suffer a little bit on the efficiency, but we've gotten back up to 28 miles to the gallon. Terrain is relatively flat. I think I'm going to be able to make some improvements here. So the average for this fuel tank is 27.3. I'm not sure how accurate that is, but we're still showing 340 miles to empty. And as you can see, we're still have a 3-lane highway, really long acceleration deceleration lane for State Route 288. Cars are just flying by me like crazy. So that's pretty much the only interesting thing about this trip so far. After that, it's relatively boring. We want boring because if things get interesting, it means we're having trouble. So that is up for this update. Stay tuned for more. Alright, 254 update. We're somewhere between Richmond and Charlottesville, going at a steady speed of 60 miles per hour. For this trip, as in from the last time I started the car, I'm at 28.6 miles to the gallon. We just got passed by a state trooper. He didn't even look at me, didn't care. I wondered why I was going so slow in a sporty looking car. But that's okay. As long as I'm not being harassed, I don't care. So we'll move up to the different gauges. For the tank, we're at 27.6 miles to the gallon. And for some weird reason, we are still at 340 miles for this tank. I'm sure if you are the monitor, this might go to 330, then 40, and 30, and 40. Back and forth as adjusts for variables I'm not very familiar with. So I guess that's it for this update. Okay, now I'm here for a quick update. I've stopped at a place near Charlottesville for lunch. It is 1:21. So far we have driven 121 miles from our beginning of the trip. So we are approximately 1/3 of the way there. And we have used 1/4 of a tank of gas. So when I look over here at my gauges for this trip, since I left when I left the rest area, I'm doing 28.6 miles to the gallon, and for the tank, 27.9, and my fuel range so far is 320 miles. So that is really good. Usually, if I was going to be driving the way I normally would, I would probably be thinking about getting gas pretty like in the next 100 miles. So I usually get gas right before I get onto Interstate 81, and when I get home I usually have half a tank of gas left, and I'm averaging around 23, 22, 21 miles to the gallon. So I'm pretty impressed with the stats so far. It's not where I want it to be. I felt like I could achieve 30. So we'll see what's going on. So we'll be going through Charlottesville next, and then we're going to Afton Mountain, and we'll come back when I'm going up Afton Mountain and see how things are looking. Alright, we are now starting to climb up Afton Mountain. We're past Charlottesville. The time is 2:25 p.m. Right now I am at 27 miles to the gallon for this trip. 27.6 for the tank, and we have 280 miles left for this tank. So Afton Mountain is probably the second biggest incline on an interstate highway in Virginia. The other one that's even bigger, more steep, more treacherous, is the one on Interstate 77 near the border of North Carolina and Virginia. So we're steadily making it up the mountain, going 60 miles per hour. I'm losing some efficiency now. We're looking at 26.4 right at the moment, 0.3. Looking at the front camera, traffic is very light. Back camera, there's only 2 cars behind me. This road is can get pretty bad when there are trucks trying to climb it. They'll tend to go way down. I mean, like 35, 25 miles per hour, and traffic will back up behind them. And then you have cars zooming past I guess to prove that they have the horsepower to climb up the mountain, I guess. So they'll try to speed up. And these aren't like sports cars, these are just like normal cars. Like, yes, I can go up this mountain on the speed limit. So we're now going into the 25.8 range. .7. A little bit more than halfway up the mountain. We're about to approach the exit for Skyline Drive and the Blue Ridge Parkway. Skyline Drive goes parallel to 81 up towards North Virginia. Blue Ridge Parkway will kind of go parallel to 81 going south. It is a very good drive. I'm not going there today, but if you are in the neighborhood, it is peak foliage season out here. There's a lot of oranges and yellows out here. Blue Ridge Parkway and Skyline Drive are some good roads to travel on. Blue Ridge Parkway is free for anyone to drive, and it goes from it's a junction over at from the Interstate 64 at exit 99, go all the way down the Blue Ridge Mountains, all the way, and I believe it will stop in Asheville, North Carolina. So we're actually approaching exit 99. We are almost at the top of this hill or mountain. I guess it's not really mountains in Virginia. They look like mountains compared to everything around it. Real mountains are out west, Rockies. I guess you can call Mount Washington a mountain, or Mount. Was it Mount Rogers and White Top Mountain? So we're now starting to go down. So I am at 25.1 miles to the gallon, and for the next 2 to 3 miles, it's all downhill. This road right here is pretty fun to drive on, going downhill. Now I'm starting to make up. Now I'm at 25.4. Starting to get a little bit steeper, so hopefully we'll make up for what we lost going up Afton Mountain. At 25.8. Back up to 26 miles to the gallon. That's 3 more than what the EPA says you should be able to get. We have have used up a third, a little bit less than a third of a tank. We're 160 miles into the trip, so about 180 miles will be, I would say, that's over pretty much close to our halfway point. And now we are going past the city of Waynesboro. So I'm going to say that's 26.4, and I guess we'll start see how things are going from now on, because we are in the thick of the mountains, uphill and downhill for the rest of the way, and we'll see how interesting things get from now on. Tune back in sometime after we get on Interstate 81. Okay, I'm back for another update. We're on Interstate 81. We're going down this big hill, as you can tell, looking at the front window. We are approximately 2/3 the way into the trip, 207 miles into the trip. So while I've been driving, I was thinking I should have seen higher values because of the way I've been driving, and I was thinking, you know what, I didn't inflate my tires or check my tires for all left, and I didn't really think there would be a reason to do that because I just had my oil changed and tires rotated, and they did check the oil pressure, I mean the air pressure. So I checked the tires, they're all within spec, even with the decrease in temperature from the time I did have my maintenance done. So I was thinking, what else, what kind of other thing
hazard reported ahead,
my values to be so lower than I would expect. And I looked at the HVAC unit, so AC's been off the whole time, but I had the heater on. So I decided I'm going to turn the heater off, and I've actually seen some improvements. So I'm right now at like 31.7 miles to the gallon average. It's been 17 miles since I last stopped at a rest area, so things kind of normaled out. I was going downhill a lot, and I saw values like 40, so I'm like, yeah, that's not right. I mean, maybe for the conditions, going downhill you can get 40 miles to the gallon because you're not having a load on the engine. But I waited to things to level out, and I'm at 31.3 miles to the gallon at this moment. I am averaging 27.6 miles to the gallon for this tank, and I have 220 miles left for my range. So that is it for this update, and I will come back online sometime after I pass Roanoke. Okay, I'm back again. I am just past Roanoke, mile mark 131. I am very close to Christiansburg, and guess who's playing tonight? Virginia Tech. And I'm not going there, unfortunately, to watch the game, but I have a good update. So I am 259 miles into my trip. I have about 90 more miles left to go, and according to my trip meters here, I am at 29.3 miles to the gallon since the last time I stopped at a rest area. And my tank, my tank miles per gallon has improved a little bit. It's now 27.9, and I have 180 miles left to go. So when I get home, to my hometown, I should have 100 miles left to this tank. We just passed half a tank, so yeah, I have a little bit less than half a tank left, so I'm pretty confident I can make it to Marion without running out of gas. So this is it for this update. Next update, we'll be at the gas pump in Marion. It is 6:06 p.m. I finally arrived in Marion, Virginia, and I want to turn the camera around to look at the gauges. And as you can tell, I have driven 343 miles exactly. I have, if I center my head over the gauge, I have used 3/4 of a tank left. And I'm going to go focus on the gauges above the center console. When I pulled in, it was at 30, but because the modeling went down to 29.9 for this trip, I last stopped at the rest area near Radford, and if I move up, I have exactly 100 miles left to the tank, and I have an average for the tank 28.2 miles. So let's fill up with some gasoline and see what the real numbers are. Okay, I just filled up. I bought 12.363 gallons. So when you enter in the calculator, 343 divided by 12.363, you got 27.74. It's not quite my goal. I think could have done better if I didn't have the heater on. It's not too cold, it's 40 degrees outside, so it's not bad for a 343 mile trip. I made it in one tank of gas. Usually I'm filling up a little bit more than halfway. So those are the results from my trip. So I've done this before to see what I could do, but it was from halfway up the road. I filled up in Waynesboro at a Shell gas station last month. It was considerably warmer, so I didn't need to use the heater or air conditioner, so I actually got 31 miles to the gallon back then. So other factors could be the complete 150 miles of going uphill all the way from Newport News up to Charlottesville. So that's what I got, 27 some miles to the gallon. So this finishes off this journey and this video. If you haven't done so far, please subscribe, like, share, comment. And we'll see you next time.